Hi guys, how's it going? My name is Rick and I'm one of the founders of Easy Poker. If you're new to poker and want to win, this is the video for you. I've been playing poker for some time now and noticed how just 5 small hacks changed my game dramatically. Now, if you find this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We'll be doing a lot more poker tutorials in the future. Alright guys, so without further ado, let's get started. Here are 5 tips to win at poker. Tip number 1 is to know your starting hands. One of the most common beginner mistakes in poker is to see too many flops. New players are curious to see what the flop will make of their hand, and so they end up throwing chips after a hand that's not going anywhere. This may not sound like a big deal, but if you constantly waste your chips in search of a magic flop, you'll quickly see your stack go down. Great players instantly assess their starting hands and know what to keep and what to throw away. They trust the math, and because of this they have the liquidity to bet heavily when needed. But exactly what gives a hand potential? There's a science behind this. Now, I've made an entire video about this that goes into greater detail and has a bunch of different examples. But basically the best starting hands are paired cards, like 2 aces or 2 kings. If the cards aren't paired, we first look for what we call high card value. Cards of high value, like an ace and a queen, have potential for hitting a strong pair from the community cards. Now, after that, we'll look for suitedness. Cards of the same suit, like 2 hearts, have a greater chance of hitting a flush from the board. Lastly, we'll look for connectedness, meaning cards that are close to each other in rank. 2 cards that are close to each other in rank, like a 9 and a 10, have better potential for a straight. The larger the gap, the worse your starting hand is. And cards with a gap of 5 or more are of course terrible. So, to sum it up, the best starting hands are either pairs or 2 cards of a high value that are close to each other in rank. The second tip is to understand position. Position is one of those things that new players never think of, but when they're told about it, it makes a lot of sense. But it's actually pretty simple. Position in poker refers to the way you're seated around the poker table. More specifically, in what order you get to act your turn. As you probably know, every round of poker has a dealer, a small blind, and a big blind. Since the small and big blind are forced to bet a minimum amount, the first player to act freely is the player sitting after the big blind. This is generally considered the worst position to be in, since you have to act without having seen anything from your opponents. You have no intel to go from, just your own 2 cards. Now, the later your position, the better, since you first get to see other players act their turn. The dealer, also known as the button, is considered the best position to be in. This is because you get to act third last in the first round and lastly for every round thereafter. Like the roles of dealer, small blind and big blind, your position of course changes clockwise after every round, so stay alert. Position and starting hand strategy is of course very much related, and the later your position, the wider range of starting hands you should play. Tip number 3 is knowing how to bluff. Bluffing is easily the most recognizable and famous tool in the toolbox of poker strategy, made famous by TV and movies. And it is a great tool, although the frequency of which players bluff in movies is very much exaggerated. The perfect hand doesn't come around too often in Texas Hold'em. This means you can't just fold every bad hand you get and go all in every time you get a good hand. That's too easy to read. Bluffing is both a great way to win some chips with terrible cards and to keep your opponents guessing. The key to bluffing is to keep your opponents in mind. Limit your bluffing to when you're up against just 1 or 2 players. It's a lot easier to bluff just a few players than a whole table. Likewise, you should focus your bluff on times when your opponent seemed hesitant or low on chips. Weak players probably won't have the guts to call you out. Lastly, it's important to consider your opponent's playing style. It's a lot safer to bluff against a player with a tight playing style than against a loose cannon who might randomly call your bluff. And of course, most important of all, if you're bluffing, the last thing you want is to end up in a showdown with your weak hand. Finish the job before that and get your opponents to fold. For my complete course on how to bluff, check out this video. So, now you know how to bluff with bad cards. But what do you do when an actual great hand comes along? Tip number 4 is knowing how and when to bet. First up though, this video is brought to you by us, the Easy Poker app. The easiest way to play poker with friends, whether you're sitting together or playing online from separate locations. No chips or playing cards needed. Get started now. It's completely free and you'll find the link down below. Knowing how to make the most of a great hand is absolutely crucial if you want to win at poker. If you're dealt a great hand like 2 aces, you can't have everyone fold before the flop and leave you with just the blinds. You need to make the most of a good hand. This takes a great betting strategy. Betting in poker is usually divided into 2 different categories, a blocking bet and a value bet. A blocking bet is designed to control the pot. By placing a small bet, you get inside your opponent's head and stop them from making a larger bet, since just the fact that you made a bet makes them more cautious and less aggressive. That way, you get to set the price for further participation, allowing you to see another round without too much investment. Quite genius. Now, let's say you're dealt a great starting hand like a pair of aces. This is the best starting hand in poker, and you'd be pretty likely to win. When you have a great hand, it's important to make the most of it. You want a massive pot to win. But if you try to build that pot by instantly raising by a lot, other players might be scared off and fold their cards, leaving you with just the blinds and some change. Not quite the massive win you were hoping for. This is when we place what's called a value bet. A value bet is designed to build that pot, but to do it in such a manner that opponents won't be scared off. Value betting is essentially the opposite of bluffing, since this time you actually want your opponents to call, or even better, raise. You want them to think that building the pot is their idea and that they are in charge, essentially doing your dirty work and digging their own grave. It's actually quite evil, but very effective. Tip number 5 is don't limp. Limping is one of the most common beginner mistakes in poker, and it's very easy for other players to spot. Limping basically means that you hesitate or show a lack of faith in your cards when it's your turn to act. This is usually seen when a player tries to just check or call instead of making an actual decision. If you want to win at poker, you have to play with conviction. Therefore, it's best to either raise or fold. Checking and calling usually isn't a good idea. If you have good cards, then raise. And if you have bad cards, then fold. It's that easy. Don't limp. So, that's it guys. My 5 tips to win at poker. I hope you learned something, and if you did, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really makes a difference for us. And if you have additional tips or ideas for future videos, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.